Now usually we want to make the car faster, but in order to make the car be faster, we need to add more air and more fuel. What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. Now this is my BK2 Genesis Coupe 3.8. And the biggest difference between the first generation and the second generation is multi-port injection fuel versus gas direct injection. Now unfortunately, no one really makes upgrades to the direct injection system for the second generation Genesis Coupe 3.8. And we're basically at the limit of what the stock high pressure fuel pump and direct injection injectors can provide. But today we're going to be upgrading the low side system in order to give this high pressure fuel pump the best chance that it's got to succeed. Now we've already begun making some upgrades to the fuel system on this car. This car does have an upgraded low pressure fuel pump, and that was switching to a Deechworks DW430C, which is their 430 liter per hour compact fuel pump. But as you can see, today we're going to be replacing the fuel feed line to a -6 AN style fuel feed. Now this is not the fuel basket from the car. I do have a spare one. I bought this from a 2014 3.8. So in the future I might be upgrading to an even larger low side pump, and that might require me to cut up and modify the basket. So I wanted to have a spare one to ensure I don't screw up the one that I actually need and then be in a bad situation. So today we're gonna be deleting the factory feed line, which comes from the basket here, this connection right over there, and goes from a rubber line to a hard metal line down the side of the or bottom of the car, and then back up to a rubber line to connect to the high pressure fuel pump right there. And we're gonna be switching to a much nicer and larger volume supplying -6 AN line. Now in order to do this, we have already started a bit. We've got the back seats out of the car. The little inspection panel there for the fuel basket is removed. We've got the car obviously up in the air. I do still have the under paneling under the car on the driver's side, where the fuel lines and the evap line and brake lines for the rear run under the car. So I've got that loosened so that I can pull it down enough to run this line. We've already depressurized the system, so we should be able to pop this fuel line supplied to the high pressure fuel pump off. While we're at it, we're also gonna be replacing the OEM high pressure fuel pump with just a direct replacement OEM pump to ensure that the many miles on this one aren't degrading its performance ability. So we'll just be doing like a routine maintenance replacement of the high pressure fuel pump. And then we've got this fuel line kit. This is a PTFE line. It's not just an AN style, so it does have the PTFE line inside. You can kind of tell by how much thinner it is than a normal 6 AN line. And then we've got an assortment of fittings. These are a quick disconnect style. This will be used on the plastic barb on the fuel basket. Then we've just got some straight fittings. I might use a 45 at the fuel tank. And then here we have my 85 kit, which I ordered some more fittings in this style here with the hard line adapter for the high pressure fuel. Technically I could use the plastic quick disconnect, but I wanted to use a hard line like this. So we're gonna be borrowing one of these fittings from my E85 kit and then replacing it with the ones that I've ordered that are still on the way. So like I said, this car does have a DW430C compact feed pump in the tank. And then on the passenger side where the siphon system would be, we do have a AEM 340 liter per hour pump actually feeding the siphon, rather than it relying on the fuel pressure regulator to siphon fuel from the passenger side. For those of you who are interested, these barb style are a 5/16 for the high pressure fuel pump and the barbs on the fuel basket. But this is that hard line adapter I'm talking about. It has this piece here, and then it just slots in. Obviously this looks just like the barb on the high pressure fuel pump looks. So we should be able to slot that in and then we'll drop this in and thread it in, and that will seal perfectly to the high pressure fuel pump. I guess first thing first, we will go ahead and pop off this low pressure feed line. So there's a little plastic clip-ins there. And once you push up on that, then the line should be able to pop right off of the high pressure pump. Obviously we won't need this line anymore. So we'll just set that to the side for now. Now in the back seats here, there is normally this inspection cover. It just pops off with these 6 Phillips head screws. Then you can undo the plug going to the fuel basket. Got 2 lines here. This one with the arrow pointing inward is the siphon from the passenger side. This one with the arrow pointing outward is the feed that comes down to the engine. So we'll go ahead and push this quick disconnect. There's 2 pins. It's not the easiest thing to disconnect, for the name being quick disconnect, but there's 2 pins that you push, and then the feed line comes right off like that. So once again, we'll set that to the side for now. This will be getting the quick disconnect AN fitting that I showed you before. Now I am going to go ahead and attach the 45 here to the end of the line as it comes. This is one of those do as I say, not as I do. Normally you'd use AN wrenches and have a vise to do this. I don't have a vise or AN wrenches, so I've just got some normal wrenches that I lined in some electrical tape to hopefully prevent from galling up these nice new fittings. But we'll go ahead and get this attached to the PTFE line. This does have the collet on the inside here to ensure a proper seal. And then we will test fit it on the car to figure out how much of this 20-foot line we need to cut to get the line up to the high pressure fuel pump. All right guys, well I got the line pulled up, got it cut to where it will end up staying. It'll be right around there. I'll have it tied in with where the factory line comes up. I'll show you up underneath the car how the line is gonna be run. All right, so here's where the line comes from the fuel basket. It'll end up coming around the side here. Under this channel is where the factory line runs. There's not enough space to put it underneath there with those. For the factory line, the evap line, and the brake lines for the rear. But it will travel alongside this channel. I'm gonna get some cable ties that I can attach to these studs to hold it in place. I do have this panel as well that will come up and cover it to help keep it protected. As it continues down the side here, it'll be tucked up beside this heat shield. And then as we make our way down, there's another heat shield here that the factory lines go behind. Once again, I am able to get the line behind this one. So that's where it comes in. You see the top of that line there, comes out of that heat shield, and then up to where we just saw it up in the engine bay. So let me run to the good old Harbor Freight, grab some cable tie downs for down here, and then we will pull this line off. We'll go ahead and install the straight fitting for the high pressure fuel pump connection, and we should be ready to finalize this installation. Secured the clamps for the line, got myself a white monster, and then we got the line pulled off as well. So we're gonna go ahead and get this straight fitting installed on this end, get it mocked back up in the car, and start securing it down. Well guys, I pretty much locked in and got the rest of this knocked out. So back here, we've got the feed line connected with the quick connect fitting. Just got a rag there, so once we pressurize the system, we can check for leaks. Up here in the engine bay, same thing. Got the feed line here connected, everything's tightened up. Line comes back down there, it's all tied nicely. I'm using these grip lock zip ties. I'm not sure if any of y'all are familiar with these, but they are a zip tie that has a rubber lining. They're actually reusable as well. Pretty nice things, but these are good for hoses or wires so that they don't get frayed from the plastic of the zip tie. So I'm gonna tighten up the original feed line to the new one once I'm done checking for leaks. And I'll show you underneath the car. Here's up underneath the car where the feed line comes down. Got a cable tie holding it here. There's another cable tie there. If I lower this down, you'll see another cable tie there holding it in place, running alongside that channel there. Then I couldn't quite get it underneath here, but I've got it beside the heat shield and held in with another one of those grip lock cable ties. And then it comes down here, another grip lock right there. Not sure how well you can see that. And then here is where it actually goes underneath the heat shield. See, it kind of goes all the way up to the heat shield there, exits out and comes up to the high pressure fuel pump. So what we'll do is cycle the key a few times to get some fuel into the line, check for any leaks. Then once again, another great thing about having the remote start kit is I'll be able to remote start the car from up here, check for leaks at the worrisome spot above the header. And so long as there's not leaks there, then we'll go to the back, check for leaks back there. Don't suspect there will be any. The lines went together pretty smoothly. Those PTFE connections are usually leak-free. And then if everything is good, we'll leave the car as it sits now until the replacement high-pressure fuel pump comes in, and then we'll go ahead and swap that out. Well, good news, started the car up. Paper towels are dry, no signs of any leakage back there either. So I'd say that's a job well done. Finally switched over to AN feed line. This is gonna be much easier to introduce the ethanol kit once we decide whether or not we're going to E85, as well as I'm sure port injection installation will be much easier with the AN line. So that's sweet. We'll leave the car as it is now until the replacement high pressure fuel pump comes in, and then it should be pretty simple with just 2 bolts here. I've taken this off before, and then the one nut there on the side. It will come up. You want to go easy on both sides because it's spring loaded. Obviously we'll cover that once it arrives.
1 day later.
Well guys, I know we said we would keep the car as it was until the replacement high pressure fuel pump came in, but of course with cars you can never stop while you're ahead. So I started diving into the car today, just kind of getting curious about a couple of different things that I was dealing with. So I took the back seats back out and started to inspect the fuel basket. And I've always had an issue with this car since I bought it. Kind of was a part of the car and the sale of buying it as well, was the car has always had kind of an issue starting. Not, it doesn't start, but it'll crank and crank and crank and then start. Like, it always starts. It's not that type of project car, but it will crank a few times before starting on a cold start only. If the car's already been run and is warm, then it will start right up, no problem. But on a cold start, or you know, if it has a completely full tank of gas, then it would start right up on a cold start. So I tried finding and figuring out what the heck was going on with that. I thought it was related to an evap issue that I had since I bought the car, but I fixed that evap issue and still it has the same thing going on. So started digging into this thing. Not only has it always done that, but when I cycle the key and I hear the fuel pump prime, it sounds like it primes and then kind of relieves itself. And you know, there should be an internal check valve to the fuel pump that prevents any back leakage. So I was curious about what that sound was. Well, digging into this thing, and I've had this thing out 3 or 4 times since I bought the car now. I finally found out what's been going on with this car, probably causing issues with all sorts of stuff, even, you know, tune related. The feed line from the fuel filter to the top hat that comes out of the basket to go to the feed to the engine had a couple different nicks in it where it was allowing the fuel to leak out. I guess the previous owner was pulling this thing out, probably frayed it on the corners here, and just put a small little hole in the feed line from, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's this one right there. This one that comes out, loops around, and then comes up to where that blue thing is there. So it had a couple of holes in it, and then every time I would start the car, it would have to crank and crank and crank to build pressure because it was blowing some fuel back right into the tank. And then every time I shut the car off, the fuel would exit back into the tank, and then it had to build pressure again, which is why it would do it on cold starts, but not when it was warm. All these issues that I've been having for the past 3.5 years of owning this car have been because of a cheap little $2 plastic feed hose having a hole in it. The previous owner couldn't figure it out. I didn't figure it out so now, but luckily I was able to find this issue. I had a line that came with the pump that's installed in here that I was using on the passenger side for my secondary fuel pump. Pulled that off, swapped over the lines, got it all running now. Car primed up, didn't have any relieving sound, started right up, no problem, which is amazing. Now everything's ready to go back together. We're gonna see how much of an impact this actually makes to the car, how it drives. The tune's probably fucked up because when I got retuned, I had this problem. So it's probably gonna run rich now, but after we get all this all together, then we will finally leave the car as is. But now I don't even know if I want to replace the high pressure fuel pump, because the main goal of me replacing this was because I was thinking I was having issues because I knew the fuel rail pressure was dropping throughout pools. But I guarantee you that was caused by the pressure blading off back here with the hole in the line. So I'm interested to get the car together, probably take it out on a test drive, see how it drives, and I'll let you guys know. Well, guys, we did it! We finally fixed the problem that has been causing me so much pain and heartache with this car since I bought it. The problem that the previous owner could not find and was the reason that he sold the car. The problem that I've been dealing with for 3.5 years. Albeit it has changed a bit over time with stuff that I've done, but the underlying issue that's been limiting us on so many factors with this car, the reason why we haven't been able to support fueling for more than 10.5 to 11 pounds of boost with this car. I took the car out yesterday after getting everything back together. We were making 13.1 pounds of boost, and we were still rich. Like 11.2 AFR, 11.3 AFR rich. That means with the direct injection system and the upgraded low side pump and feed line that we have now, we likely have enough fueling to support 15, 16, maybe even 17 pounds of boost, which is all that I'm really looking to run. So finally, we're gonna be able to get some real good numbers out of this car. I'm so glad that I didn't give up on it the many times that I was frustrated with the things that I was dealing with. So I'm glad to say the car is running phenomenal. Now, I did have a slight mishap yesterday after taking it out, and when we did the pool and made 13.1 pounds of boost, we did blow out an exhaust gasket that I had to remove most of the hot side of the piping to replace last night. But we've gone ahead and got that gasket replaced. Gonna put the car in the air, check for leaks, make sure the idle air fuel ratio and everything is good after replacing that gasket. But man, oh man, am I so glad to have this car working as it should after a 3.5 year long process of troubleshooting and trying this and that. It's a miracle that I even got it to work as good as it did prior to finding this issue. So expect some real big gains with the car. Let's see what the peak recall was on that last pull. 14.6 pounds. I'm definitely shooting to, like I said, run that 15, 16, see how much we can make with direct injection only. And then once port injection comes, we'll have even more safeties above that and likely be able to run full 85, which is just gonna sweeten the deal so much more. So that's pretty much gonna do it, guys. I know we talked about the high pressure fuel pump that should be in a couple of days. I'm probably not even gonna bother replacing it at this point. I'll just keep it as a backup. But the car is working. The car is making so much more power. So we're gonna end it on a high note. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Look forward to next week's video because it should be very interesting. But that's it. Take care and have a great day.